seraphic transport departs every 3 seconds of Urantia time throughout the light period and, sometimes, far into the recession. The transporters take off at about 25 standard miles per second of Urantia time and do not attain standard velocity until they are over 2,000 miles away from Jerusalem. Transports arrive on the crystal field, the so-called Sea of Glass. Around this area are the receiving stations for the various orders of beings who traverse space by seraphic transport. Near the polar crystal receiving station for student visitors, you may ascend the Pearly Observatory and view the immense relief map of the entire headquarters planet. 3. The Jerusalem Broadcasts. The Superuniverse and Paradise of Ona broadcasts are received on Jerusalem in liaison with Salvington and by a technique involving the polar crystal, the Sea of Glass. In addition to provisions for the reception of these extra-Nebadon communications, there are 3 distinct groups of receiving stations. These separate but tricircular groups of stations are adjusted to the reception of broadcasts from the local worlds, from the constellation headquarters, and from the capital of the local universe. All these broadcasts are automatically displayed so as to be discernible by all types of beings present in the central broadcast amphitheater. Of all preoccupations for an ascendant mortal on Jerusalem, none is more engaging and engrossing than that of listening in on the never-ending stream of universe space reports. This Jerusalem broadcast receiving station is encircled by an enormous amphitheater constructed of scintillating materials largely unknown on Urantia and seating over 5 billion beings, material and Morontia, besides accommodating innumerable spirit personalities. It is the favorite diversion for all Jerusalem to spend their leisure at the broadcast station, there to learn of the welfare and state of the universe. And this is the only planetary activity which is not slowed down during the recession of light. At this broadcast receiving amphitheater, the Salvington messages are coming in continuously. Nearby, the Urantia word of the Most High Constellation Fathers is received at least once a day. Periodically, the regular and special broadcasts of Uversa are relayed through Salvington, and when Paradise messages are in reception, the entire population is assembled around the Sea of Glass, and the Uversa friends add the reflectivity phenomena to the technique of the Paradise broadcasts so that everything heard becomes visible. And it is in this manner that continual foretastes of advancing beauty and grandeur are afforded the mortal survivors as they journey inward on the eternal adventure. The Jerusalem sending station is located at the opposite pole of the sphere. All broadcasts to the individual worlds are relayed from the system capitals, except the Michael messages, which sometimes go direct to their destinations over the Archangel's circuit. 4. Residential and administrative areas. Considerable portions of Jerusalem are assigned as residential areas, while other portions of the system capital are given over to the necessary administrative functions involving the supervision of the affairs of 619 inhabited spheres, 56 transitional culture worlds, and the system capital itself. On Jerusalem and in Nebadon, these arrangements are designed as follows. 1. The circles, the non-native residential areas. 2. The squares, the system executive administrative areas. 3. The rectangles, the rendezvous of the lower native life. 4. The triangles, the local or Jerusalem administrative areas. This arrangement of the system activities into circles, squares, rectangles, and triangles is common to all the system capitals of Nebadon. In another universe, an entirely different arrangement might prevail. These are matters determined by the diverse plans of the Creator Sons. Our narrative of these residential and administrative areas takes no account of the vast and beautiful estates of the material sons of God, the permanent citizens of Jerusalem. Neither do we mention numerous other fascinating orders of spirit and near-spirit creatures. For example, Jerusalem enjoys the efficient services of the Sporanja of design for system function. These beings are devoted to spiritual ministry in behalf of the supermaterial residents and visitors. They are a wonderful group of intelligent and beautiful beings who are the transition servants of the higher Urantia creatures and of the Urantia helpers who labor for the upkeep and embellishment of all Urantia creations. They are, on Jerusalem, what the Midway creatures are on Urantia, Midway helpers functioning between the material and the spiritual. The system capitals are unique in that they are the only worlds which exhibit well-nigh perfectly all three phases of universe existence, the material, the Urantial, and the spiritual. Whether you are a material, Urantia, or spirit personality, you will feel at home on Jerusalem. So also do the combined beings, such as the Midway creatures and the material sons. Jerusalem has great buildings of both material and Urantia types, while the embellishment of the purely spiritual zones is no less exquisite and replete. If I only had words to tell you of the Urantia counterparts of the marvelous physical equipment of Jerusalem, if I could only go on to portray the sublime grandeur and exquisite perfection of the spiritual appointments of this headquarters world, your most imaginative concept of perfection of beauty and repleteness of appointment would hardly approach these grandeurs, and Jerusalem is but the first step on the way to the supernal perfection of paradise beauty. 5. The Jerusalem Circles. The residential reservations assigned to the major groups of universe life are designated the Jerusalem Circles. Those circle groups which find mention in these narratives are the following. 1. The circles of the sons of God. 2. The circles of the angels and higher spirits. 3. The circles of the universe aids, including the creature trinitized sons not assigned to the Trinity teacher sons. 4. The circles of the master physical controllers. 5. The circles of the assigned ascending mortals, including the Midway creatures. 6. The circles of the courtesy colonies. 7. The circles of the core of the finality. Each of these residential groupings consists of 7 concentric and successively elevated circles. They are all constructed along the same lines, but are of different sizes and are fashioned of differing materials. They are all surrounded by far-reaching enclosures which mount up to form extensive promenades entirely encompassing every group of 7 concentric circles. 1. Circles of the Sons of God. Though the Sons of God possess a social planet of their own, one of the transitional culture worlds, they also occupy these extensive domains on Jerusalem. On their transitional culture world, the ascending mortals freely mingle with all orders of divine sonship. There you will personally know and love these sons, but their social life is largely confined to this special world and its satellites. In the Jerusalem circles, however, these various groups of sonship may be observed at work, and since Urantia vision is of enormous range, you can walk about on the sun's promenades and overlook the intriguing activities of their numerous orders. These 7 circles of the suns are concentric and successively elevated, so that each of the outer and larger circles overlooks the inner and smaller ones, each being surrounded by a public promenade wall. These walls are constructed of crystal gems of gleaming brightness, and are so elevated as to overlook all of their respective residential circles. The many gates, from 50 to 150,000, which penetrate each of these walls, consist of single pearly crystals. The first circle of the domain of the sons is occupied by the magisterial sons and their personal staffs. Here center all of the plans and immediate activities of the bestowal and adjudicational services of these juridical sons. It is also through this center that the abonals of the system maintain contact with the universe. The second circle is occupied by the Trinity teacher sons. In this sacred domain, the Dainals and their associates carry forward the training of the newly arrived primary teacher sons, and in all of this work they are ably assisted by a division of certain coordinates of the brilliant evening stars. The creature trinitized sons occupy a sector of the Dainal circle. The Trinity teacher sons come the nearest to being the personal representative